Welcome back, everybody. My name is Zach Shelley, and this is another segment of Management Unfiltered, a segment off of the podcast Dental Unfiltered. Today, we have an awesome guest that I've gotten to know over the last couple years through the American Association of Dental Office Management, but she's also a fellow Floridian managing a practice in Orlando, greater Orlando area. Called Winter Garden Smiles. I'd like to introduce to you Vanessa Escobar.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Vanessa. I'm super excited to have you on this. You've been on my list of one of the people I really wanted to interview and kind of get the word out of like this really unique practice that you guys have built. But what's even more unique is that when we talk about a family practice, it's truly a family practice. So, Vanessa, why don't you enlighten us a little bit of what your practice is, what specialties you guys have, and then also how this is different than most family practices because you work with your sister.
My name is Vanessa, and I've been working in Winter Garden Smiles for 13 years. It is a startup practice. We actually started with 2 dental chairs, and it's with my sister and my brother-in-law. They brought up the idea of opening up a practice. At that time, I had finished college and I started doing hospitality for a couple years. And I wasn't really in a spot where I wanted to be, just management-wise. I wasn't in a good environment. So I wanted to make a change. So I was looking into different industries. I was looking into banking, nonprofits. I was kind of like very open. And they came up to me and asked if I would be interested in joining this venture with them. They're like, we don't know anything about the dental business, but we'll learn it. We'll learn through together. Basically, it was brought up like that. And so when they started looking up buildings, I was a part of the process from the very beginning. I didn't know anything about dentistry, but I did shadow my sister. At some point when I was in school, I was thinking about being a dentist. I did shadow her in dental school after she finished her residency. When she became when she was already done being a dentist and starting her career, I went to shadow her as well. So I knew certain things, but obviously operations is something I had to learn. And we all had to learn together.
Absolutely. So how long was your sister practicing dentistry before this venture came to be, or was this her first office?
This was her first. Well, no, she was actually in many corporations. So she did do she worked in different corporations. So did my brother-in-law. They took a lot of knowledge from working in those, but then they also wanted to do something on their own. And they wanted to kind of create a different type of environment for their team, and they knew what they liked and what they didn't like. So when they mentioned they're like, look, these are some things we learned in these corporate, and we know that this works. We want to integrate some stuff, but obviously we want to make this our own. So I learned a lot through just what they told me, like how they would run stuff at their at those practices. But it was a good experience for them, and I think it really helped them get to this point when we started opening up the office.
Awesome. And this was 13 years ago, right?
13 years ago. So they probably, I want to say they were probably dentists 10 years.
Okay.
They were in dentistry for about 10 years. And then my sister went back to school to do peds. So she specialized in pediatrics. Yep. And then when she was done with that, that's when she decided to open up the practice.
Awesome. So walk us through a little bit. You started at 2 chairs. Where are you guys at now? How many providers do you have? What specialties do you have in the practice? Because this is going to be a fun statement for everybody to see this growth.
We have 15 operatories. We have 4 doctors, 2 general dentists, 1 peds, and 1 periodontist. Our goal is to be multi-specialty, have everything here in the office, even if it's bringing a specialist once a month, twice a month kind of feel to give so that we're able to do everything here. So that's been our goal.
So walk me through this growth, because obviously overnight you did not just grow from 2 chairs to 15. And then you obviously didn't roll. So is your brother-in-law a dentist also?
Yeah, so he's the general dentist.
Perfect.
And so when we first opened in our 2 little chairs, the schedule was very light. It was just
to be expected.
Yes, maybe 5 patients, if any. And it was just one of those, they did everything. We didn't have a hygienist. It literally was them, me, and a DA. we had a part-time DA. And then we grew with a lot of time and just a lot of like, being nice to the patients. They would recommend their friends and family. We took too many insurances. That's something I learned in the beginning because I was trying to fill chairs. But I learned a lot. Like, I think within years going in, when I started realizing we were too full, that's when I explored negotiating insurances, what's good, what's bad. But I had to learn that the hard way. I wish I would have learned that a little sooner in my career. But it's just one of those things. It's an experience I had to deal with. But we grew up to 15 chairs. So right now we're maxed at 15. We moved from a smaller building to a larger building, literally right next door. Okay. So we were able to get like land and build. And there is a side office that we haven't expanded yet too. So nice. Our plans are the next 2-3 years, we'll have that side built out. But we're going to move our old office to the side. So I think we'll probably max out about 15, 17 chairs.
Okay.
Will be our max.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. Did you guys go into this venture knowing you would be here today with 15 chairs and 4 doctors?
No. I mean, we were like, let's see how this goes. Every year, we just kept growing and growing. We had patients that started with us when we were the 2 chairs. It was a little awkward when patients would walk in because the 2 chairs weren't visible. They were kind of like to the side, so the back looked very empty. So it'd be like, is this really a dentist's office? So it was one of those things. But then I loved how they saw our growth. Like those patients that were here from day one, they were like, wow, like they see our larger facility. They see all the new technology we have. Like they really were a part of every moment. And I think that's what also keeps us together, because they're like, we see everything you guys have done and all the hard work. Yeah. And it's really nice.
So I'm kind of seeing a little bit. I actually haven't had the opportunity to see the practice. I would love to at some point because you guys are not that far away. So maybe I can invite myself over one day and check y'all out. That'd be a ton of fun. But what I'm kind of hearing, and it's really interesting because you guys had the opportunity when you were so small with basically the 4 of you to really nail down the patient experience. Yes. Because having an office with, and I don't want to downplay what you guys did, so hear me out with this, and docs, what you're going to hear this too, and OMs that you're listening. Like, you did not have kind of that wow factor of this massive office that's built out, ready to rock and roll, right? Like, it was quaint, and it was legitimately a startup, and that's okay, because it's not always just about the latest, the greatest, and newest construction and all this stuff. Like a lot of this, and my percentages may be off, but like 90% of this is going to be your patient experience and the quality of care that these doctors are giving. So, like, I'm sure you agree with me, like that was a major contribution to you guys being able to grow, is that you were able to take this time and master the patient experience, correct?
I agree. I think coming also, even I did hospitality for a few years. I live in Orlando. Everything is hospitality.
Yep, 100%.
So I think when I'm in the front, I was the face of the office. So it's like, I really got to know every patient in that office. So they loved me. Yeah. And then I think that helped a lot, because then they see me, and then I would get to know about their family and their friends. And it just became a big, a nice place to be. Yeah. So I think that really helped. And obviously my brother-in-law and my sister have great skill. They're amazing dentists and just very caring in what they do. So I feel like all of us together really made a good team. Yeah. So when patients came in, they were very comfortable with us, and they didn't feel like a number. They felt like we really got to know them. They came from, I love when they would come with I still love it, second opinions when they come. Oh, yeah. Like, I just came somewhere and this is what happened. Show me. Yeah. I want to see, Absolutely. And then you give them a different environment. You're like, what happened? Why did they leave? Yeah. So then you give them a completely different experience. They're going to stay with you forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really interesting because, as you know, Vanessa, I came from a background completely outside of dentistry, which is like worlds apart, which is, professional skateboarding, which there is zero correlation in skateboarding versus, managing a dental practice other than just determination, right? Like I can grind through pretty much, anything I need to, because I've thrown my body off of all kinds of stuff and just kept trying and trying until you get it. But that's the essentials to like business, right? Is like you continue to look at your systems and your processes and how you do things. But like with you came in from hospitality where the whole experience of your customer is key. Like you're figuring out the full science behind that. And I think it's so interesting that you came from the hospitality industry, because your sister and brother-in-law are so blessed to have somebody that knows what it means to give satisfaction to your customers. And you hit the nail on the head. Like when you're managing a dental practice, which I know you do this because I can already see it, and I've heard of your practice. You've taught your front desk how to have those interactions with your patients in order to be successful. Like you nailed it with, asking them questions about them, like getting to know them, remembering their name when they come in and saying, "Hey, how was your cruise?" or "How's your dog doing?" or "I love your purse." Like you're making those personal connections. And docs, if you don't have an office manager in your practice, I say it every episode, you should have an office manager in your practice. If not, doc, you are the office manager. And OMs, like this is a point where if you're listening to this episode, you need to be empowering your front desk team to make these connections with your patients, because this is the face of the practice is front desk, office manager, whoever is the first person to connect with that patient. It's going to be the first one they see and most likely the last one that they see leaving. And those are the things that they're going to remember. So I think that has played a massive role in the success of your practice, is building it from ground one, right?
Yes.
It's just amazing. I didn't realize that you came from the hospitality industry, and it's just really, really neat to see like how many connections we can make in dentistry, because, yes, we're doing dentistry as our specialty, but like we're still running a business, and customer satisfaction is like, if you don't have somebody that's happy with what you're doing, it's over, right? Like, and you're not able to grow. But once you start having those experiences, like you said, patients were telling people, "Hey, I love them over there. Like Vanessa's amazing." Like you have people in the practice, people are coming to see you. It's not just the doctor. And there's so much influence that comes from that. And I think that's one kind of area that dentistry struggles with, and we don't take as seriously as we probably should. And I love that you guys have done that and grown like tremendously over the last 13 years. I mean, 15 chairs it's a big practice.
Yes.
So how do the team members now coming in, like what does that look like with your training? Obviously it's going to look different than some dental practices, because you're going to have such a heavy emphasis on, hospitality and the care of the patient. Like what does that look for you when you have your front team working up there? How did you translate what you learned in school in order to make them successful? Because it's an art form and not everybody's good at it. So how have you been successful in getting your team to do what you do and replicate?
I think the biggest thing is I like to get my team involved in a lot of the things that I do. So even when we were small, it was just me. And then when I would have DAs, I would cross train. I'm big on cross training. I would cross train my DAs. Awesome. I would show them what do I do, how I would interact. If I hear them talking to a patient, I'm like, next time let's try it like this. You want to critique each other. You want to give them feedback so that they know that, the next time, it was really great that you said the patient's name. It was really great. I love when they high five the patients. They look like, like just have that really nice. And I always go and tell them when I see those moments, because I want to encourage them to keep doing those things. And want to be like, look, this was a great moment. Like what you just did to that patient with that family. And remember that this is why we're here. We're here to make them feel comfortable and for them to feel like they have an extended family here. And we're here to take care of them.
Yeah. And positive reinforcement. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, I want to hit that real quick for everybody. Like, remember this positive reinforcement. We're really good at OMs telling people, "Hey, you didn't do this correct." But like what we need to be even better at is positively reinforcing the things that they're doing good at. And that's what Vanessa's saying here is like, "Hey, I love how you said the patient's name. I love that you did this," or high five the patient. Really look for those opportunities to also encourage your team, because they are going to thrive off of that feedback.
Oh yeah. I'm like, whenever I see those moments, I usually take the team member, when I have a moment, I take them a step back on the side. I'm like, look, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Do that again.
Yeah.
Like I would love that, just because it makes them feel good too. And then they get to see that those are the special moments. And I think that's what, you don't see this in medical. We talk about this. Like I go to my daughter's pediatrician. When I do check-in, no one even looks at me.
Yeah.
They're just on their computer. And I'm like, lift your head up, say hi, smile.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that I think people don't understand how impactful it will make your practice.
Yep.
And patients love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it when I go to places and I see that interaction. I'm like, you did an amazing job. And when I go to other places, I do the same thing. I give people feedback. I'm over here like, that was great.
Yeah.
I was like, who is this lady? Because not everyone has it, or maybe they were never taught.
Yeah.
Or it's just one of those things that you have to learn if you want to be good, if you want to be like the top. And that's what I'm big on my team. We had training. We do now like an annual training that I do like a little more than a half a day of stuff. Okay. And I always bring up like, this is Winter Garden Smiles. I have all their pictures up. I was like, this is not meant to be just the doctor. People are not just here to see the doctor. They're here to see all of us. So what can we bring to our patients? Yeah. And like, those are the moments you have to remember. And then I mentioned things that I remember throughout the year that I'm like, you guys did an amazing job at these moments. Yeah. And think about that. So I feel like it makes the team feel good. And then they see that it's important to us, that we want them to connect.
Well, and that it makes a difference, right? Like there's sometimes you're like, it doesn't matter if I do this or not. Like you don't want that mentality with your team. And like, it's also awkward for some people. Excuse me. So like, I'm a little bit more on the extroverted side, and I love talking to people. I mean, I can talk all day long, and that's not everybody's strong suit. So, like, if they do something and they're like, I don't know if that was good or bad. Like, maybe the patient smiled, but like they don't know how to read that. With you coming in as a practice manager and saying, "Hey, that was really good. Like, I noticed what you did." Like, that brings confidence to that team member to be like, "Oh, that was really good. I'm going to do that again." And start finding other opportunities. So like sometimes like it is awkward for people, especially if you have a more introverted personality. Does not mean that you can't communicate well with patients. It just means it might take a little bit more effort and confidence to get there. But once you get there, it's like, man, it's golden. Because peds, you're getting to see that opportunity too, or you have seen that opportunity over years. Like when you're doing pediatrics, like it is a whole different game and show. Like because these kids, like not all want to come to the dentist. So like you have to get on a different level of patient interaction. And also the parents are watching you like a hawk. And it's just a different world. Now I can understand it because I run a general and a pedio practice also. So we have that kind of hand in hand with each other. So patients getting to the ability to have our team members interact personally and confidently is amazing. And I loved how you put like in that yearly meeting, like you're saying this is Winter Garden Smiles. Like it's not just one person. It's not the name on the door. Yes, doc, you own the practice. I get that. But everybody that's inside that building with you is helping you grow that practice to become the machine that you want it to be and that experience that you want it to be. And it starts and ends, with your team, and your OM is the one that's leading them through that. So encourage them to train your teams on patient experience and interactions, and, you'll see phenomenal growth. And it's like, I always like to think of it as like a mixing board, for music. Like you're turning these knobs just slightly. These are not massive changes that you're making in the practice. Like I'm sure Vanessa, like you do like little things here and there, and you see so much fruit come from those changes, right?
Yeah, it's just little things. And even like the team members, let's say the team members that are a little more introvert or maybe a little more soft spoken. I do like little lunch and learns, or do little like, I'll do like presentations on soft skills, on how to, what are good conversation starters with patients, like, so you don't learn some of this stuff at school. Some people, it's natural that they can have a conversation and it just comes off naturally, but some people need to learn the skill. So I'm like, okay, so taking those team members, teaching them these soft skills or communication skills, simple things, eye contact,
Yeah.
smile. These are good conversation starters.
Yeah.
And then building up their confidence, because
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, even if you may not feel 100% on this specific skill, confidence is everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, you guys, be confident when you're in the room. You're dental professionals. I don't care what position you have. You're a dental professional. And
Yeah.
that's how you guys should talk to patients. So that I need to like build up their confidence when they're talking to these patients.
Yep.
And I think it makes them feel good when I hear them and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
this is just a good moment. And they're doing a good job.
Absolutely. Confidence is key. And, when you're not confident, it just opens that many more questions from the patient. So when you're able to do it more confidently, the patient is more likely, one, to accept treatment, which we love, right? If we're presenting things confidently, the patients build trust and rapport with us also, which is super important. Our whole experience is built off of trust and rapport, because it's the least favorite place for people to go. And we hear all the time at our practice, oh my gosh, it was such amazing a visit. Even though it was at the dentist, I had a great visit. And that's what I love to hear. Like, our patients should be having a great visit, because going to the dentist isn't terrible. It doesn't have to be terrible. Is it something we want to do? Do we want to go get a crown or root canal? Well, no, but we can make that experience great for you so that it's not miserable. It doesn't mean it was fun, but at least you had a good experience and you weren't, let down, or, we put a barrier in there that is going to, foster something negative in the future for you.
Right.
I want to shift this conversation just a little bit, because I'm really curious how this kind of worked from the beginning. And it's not a trick question, so don't get nervous of where I'm going with this. But you started with your brother and sister, or brother-in-law and sister, and you, and like a DA. Statistically speaking, that's 75% of that staff or team was family, right?
Yes.
So what did it look like bringing people in from the outside, right, that were kind of to work for you guys that weren't family, but started to become part of the team? And how did that look like kind of as you grew? Because, as you brought associates in, you have now associates that are not family, but the two, owners are. So what did that look like?
A lot of people didn't know for a while. And I think it was because, my sister and my brother-in-law don't have the same last name. My sister didn't change it.
Yeah.
So
that's helpful.
For a long time, no one knew that they were spouses. And I mean, the team eventually knew. But when first team members came in and I interview, or they meet us, we weren't, oh, we're all family. It was kind of like, and it was after a while, then they'll start asking other team members, be like, are they related?
Yeah.
Now it's part of our orientation. Like, we do like an orientation and we mention all these things. But before, we used to be just like that. And I actually, when we would hire people, we would hire them. I did a lot with interns. So I worked because we were trying to be economical. And so we would have interns work with us with like 3 months. Then if we liked how they worked, they would work, like, join our team. But it was very small. Like, I would say we were probably 5 team members for a long time.
Gotcha.
And then we eventually grew and grew. But yeah, no one, I mean, now it's different. Now we have a larger team. But I don't think people really felt us anyway. I mean, I'd say, I will give you this, that with team members, they might, once they find out I'm family, they might not be as open. So I think you do have to create that type of relationship so that they feel like they can be more open with you, because they feel like if they tell you, automatically I'm going to go and let the doctors know. But that's how it should be anyways, right? They need to be involved and they need to know. So it's important. So, but I don't know. You kind of have a little line when you're an OM with certain, like, relationships with team members, and that's just a thing. So I never felt more than that. I was just like, okay, it's normal.
Yeah. And it's kind of like that saying, it's only awkward if you make it awkward. So, it seems like you guys just kind of let it ride, and as questions arose, you answered it, which is, there's nothing wrong in that. I mean, it's not like, it could be the other way where, like, we're all family and, like, you're not part of this clique, which obviously is not the issue you had, because you've shown significant growth. How many team members do you guys have now?
30.
Okay. Awesome.
So they're
Huge office.
um, big office. I do have a lot of team members that are either part time, so
Yeah.
I'm very flexible. Like they work one. I had one team member that was working like one day a month because
Okay.
he decided to go back to school, kind of
Yeah.
idea. So I do have a lot of team members that are in school. Some are career; they're already here in their
Yeah.
careers, but some of them are still like going and getting their bachelor's, or trying to get to being a dentist, or they're
Yeah.
doing like hygiene. Like there's
Okay.
different areas. So I'm pretty flexible
Yeah.
with scheduling
Yeah.
with those team members.
Well, still, I mean, even with part-time, like that's a large team. That's a lot of people to kind of
Train.
to manage, to train, yeah, to keep them up to date. Just lots of problem, more people, more problems, right? We're in a very similar situation, you know, with the team sizes. We're over 30, and it's a lot. So tell me now, you're doing this, like you've grown this practice, you have added associates, and then now we're going to kind of drive the conversation a little bit more into like you're doing more than that. And as a, you know, you're decided I'm not busy enough. So you've now taken on, over the last maybe 2 years, if I'm wrong, you're the president of the now DPLN in Orlando. And tell me the name of your DPLN and what a DPLN is, so all of the listeners here know what we're talking about.
So I'm the president of the Central Florida Dental Connection. We're part of an extension of ADOM. And so we created our own type of study club, or what people would consider a study club. You have lectures, networking, but this is mainly for the operational side of dentistry. So a lot of times when you think of a study club in dentistry, you think of clinical. So doctors go to a study club, but then this is everything but clinical. This is HR, this is insurance, treatment coordinating, so everything operational. And I think that's why I wanted to bring this, because it's not in the Orlando area. There was nothing like this in Orlando. So when I heard about this type of organization, I was like, this would be amazing to bring, and then bring like-minded people together, because we all, the people that come to these meetings, they really want to be successful in their careers, and they want to learn. So it's really nice to be in that environment and bring these speakers to teach us more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important to the doctors that are listening. Get your office manager involved with ADOM, which is the American Association of Dental Office Management. If you have a local DPLN, which is a Dental Professional Learning Network, correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Vanessa? Okay. Is get them involved, because when you're able to get more than one person in a room that is doing operations, you're going to see them thrive so much more, because they get in a place where it's a lot more comfortable to ask questions. You're not putting yourself on a forum online or in a Facebook group where you're like, hey, you know, what do we do in this? And you might get roasted by some people because not everybody's so nice about answering those questions. But like these meetings attack issues that are very at hand for the front office manager, operations role, that allows you to spend that time and build relationships with other office managers. So then you have contacts and connections and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. And I'm sure like you guys have had a really good turnout with your groups. I've seen them come through. I'm really excited to come and see you guys in April. But like you guys have seen some growth. Like what are some of the big wins that you've seen, or things that you've learned from doing this DPLN? Because I'm sure you're learning a ton, even though you're the president and you got it rolling. Like I'm sure that you're gleaning a ton from people too.
My big thing is you go to these big conventions. So you go to the ADOM convention, you see these speakers, you see them once a year.
Yeah.
This is nice because now you can bring them locally, and I get to learn, and then you get to meet these speakers. You also get to bring this to your community that they might not be able to pay for 30 team members to go to a large convention. We try to bring a couple of team members in. So each, ADOM will bring like 2 to 3. But like for me to bring my whole team, I like having my team come to these, because I try to bring the ones that I like to listen to. And I'm like, this is something I would love my team to hear in person. Yeah. And then I get them to, obviously it's not mandatory, but I'll open it up. Anyone wants to come. Yeah. You guys are more than welcome to come and learn something. But I mean, I've learned a lot And I mean, a lot of the times, sometimes some of the conversations is stuff I've already heard, but I'm bringing it more for my team. And for like the people in the area to also get the information. So I think that's really important. And I think that's why we needed something like this in Orlando, because outside of us doing, and now I'll give FDA has been doing a really good job with more business courses.
Yep, but I have noticed that too.
But before there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
There would be like a treatment course lecture, and it wouldn't be treatment. It was clinical. I was like, 10 minutes aside, let's talk about how to sell it. But everything else was clinical. And I'm like, man, where are the business classes at?
Yeah.
So this is it. Like this type of like our group that's what we focus on is bringing those. And then even like within my network now, if I have a question about something, some of the forums get a little tricky, but it's nice to have connections with other people that, like what worked for your office. We're going a little faster with the learning, because before a lot of the stuff I did was trial and error. And I feel like I could have eliminated some of the errors if I would have had more conversations with people that were also doing the same stuff I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I could have gotten things a lot more fast, like a lot quicker. So I'm like, this is great, having those connections and be able to talk to people and outside of your team. Yeah. Because you guys, you grow so much more knowledge when you're talking to other offices. You're like, maybe that would work in my office. Like, how do you do this? And it just opens up more doors. I think in your practice, you become more efficient and you start learning stuff. So I love that about our organization.
And that's one of the favorite things, like I've always seen from ADOM, but it is such a huge show. Like there's so many people, like you're like, hey, I'll meet you here in like 20 minutes. And then 400 people pass by. So these like smaller, more intimate settings are definitely like a huge growth factor. So docs, if you have one in your area, encourage your office manager, pay for them to go, invest in your office manager, because having even just a candid conversation, just like talking about things, like will open up other conversations like, oh, I didn't even think to do that. And they can bring these ideas back to the table and start showing significant growth or more training for your team, confidence in your team. And I love, Vanessa, that you said like your team members are invited to come, because that gives them an opportunity to learn from others too, because they may be on a whole other level. And like you said, the dental industry is so clinically like heavy. That's why I was really excited when Matt gave me the opportunity to be the host of this show. Because we have, Clinical Unfiltered, and then we have with Dr. Sasha, we have Management Unfiltered, and then we have Dental Unfiltered. So we kind of hit all aspects of dentistry, from management to clinical to, Matt and Valo do a lot more of like, like the high level and acquisition and startup growth and all that fun stuff, and like the real heavy stuff. So we're trying to encompass giving the dental community like everything that is missing, right? And we do it completely, like I said, unfiltered. We don't accept sponsors in here. We don't accept any promotion. It's, we all do this because we love dentistry and we want it to succeed and grow and be best of the best and highlight people like you, Vanessa. And I had the opportunity to go to DPLN in January, and I was a speaker for it, but just being in the community with these people, talking before and after, like there's so much I brought back that like even stuff I said that they came back to like, hey, I really love this in this way. And I'm like, oh, like I'm in it this total different direction, but like how they pulled it, like I learned from my own speaking. So it's a great sense of community. Office managers need to have that ability to go out and talk and have those interactions, and education is key. And ADOM has definitely hit the nail on the head when it comes to management education and having the availability for people to find groups also. Because before, like, even like 5 years ago, you'd see like only dentist study clubs. And that's it.
I was like, when I first started, I looked for something. I was like, is there something out that I can learn more from? And I had really nice people in the community that like some doctors would let me come in and shadow like their team, let me shadow like their marketing person or their office manager. So, cause I didn't know anything about insurance or marketing or anything. So I had a lot of people in the community are very nice to do all those things, which really helped. But outside of that, I didn't have like me going to conventions was my way of getting the education in dentistry. Like I didn't, and some really bad software videos that were very outdated.
Yes.
That's how I learned how to do insurance.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome.
Now there's like oh my gosh, so many wonderful classes that I get my team to do.
Yeah.
Because I'll show them, we have presentations set aside to show them how we run stuff in the practice, but I
Yeah.
like them watching some of these videos because they're very in depth and it starts clicking. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's why we do this. I'm like, yes, it's not, we have to give them different things to learn from.
Yeah.
So I think that's been very helpful. But yeah, some of the old videos I used to watch, you guys would be sleeping.
Yep.
If I don't know, Zach, you may have watched these videos, but these were horrible.
Yeah, I've watched some where I'm like, oh goodness. When I started my position, the owner was like, I don't know what your position's going to look like. Here's some content, and then like I watched all of it because that was what was given to me. But I'm like, whew, this is rough. So I think dentistry has definitely excelled in that aspect of making content more engaging. So before we hop off, Vanessa, this has been like such a great conversation and just so amazing learning about like honestly explosive growth over the years. And obviously you guys have more sites in mind. Like what's one thing you can leave with office managers today, like is like a solid point to always remember when you're going through like this growth pattern? Like what advice would you leave them with?
You always have to be evolving and learning things. Like I think that's the biggest thing I focus on is, and I tell my team, we can't go behind. We have to be on the latest technology. We need to learn what's new to dentistry. We have to be okay with change.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in the dentistry field, they kind of get stuck and they don't want to make those changes.
Yeah.
But I was like, but that's the only way you'll grow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You'll only grow if you continue learning. So like for me, I like to take more classes. I'm always looking at, even if it's not dental specific, I like business courses in general, like just anything that will make me more efficient. Yeah. So I looked at UCF, I started taking continuing education courses. I'm just finding things that I can do to help myself and my skill, because you get bored sometimes. You're like, okay, what else can I learn? I want to master more things. So then that's my way of kind of feeding that need of growth, but also the growth of the practice, because everything I learn, I bring it here.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that's important, but then bring your team with it too. Like you want to also encourage them to learn and encourage them to see like what areas are you looking into? What's your passion in dentistry, and let them grow in that. So I have team members that are like, I have one team member that she loves OSHA. Yeah. I signed her up for every OSHA class there is.
God bless her.
We can have someone that loves OSHA, and she's on top of us. And I'm like, and that's her thing. And I'm like, that's wonderful. And then I have other team members that I'm like, I know dentistry is not people don't want to think about sales in dentistry, but it's sales.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot of
just
sales
how you
involved.
approach it.
And then I was like, so I'm like, let's get you some sales courses. Let's get you some sales books. Let's get you. So I feel like that is the biggest thing is grow. You need to grow. You need to show your team that you're growing, but you also have to push them to also want to do that as well. Yeah. And that will make the office more successful.
Yeah. One last question I'll ask you, because we kind of brought that up. Does your sister and brother-in-law, like, do they compensate you for these courses? Like, do they pay for it if you're like, hey, I want to learn, I want to grow, or do you do that for your team?
They pay for most of my courses.
Awesome.
So like most of my courses or the conventions I go to, I'll show them, hey, this is the convention I'm looking at. And they pay for all those things. Awesome. The PMP course, I did that myself, but that's just because I knew it was something I know it would benefit both, but I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, for self-improvement.
For myself, yeah. So the books that I buy for my team or the things that we do, like that's all part of our office. That it's an investment for our team and the practice.
Yeah. We found, that's the commonality that we're seeing a big change is the investment of dentists into their team and education for them to grow. It's so important. If you tell somebody to do it on their own dime in their own time, like it's a hard sale. So, last shout out to dentists is invest in your office managers, invest in your team, give them the training that they need and they deserve. And in turn, they will grow exponentially. And then the other thing you hit the nail on the head is nobody likes change, right? Like I don't like change. Like it's just human nature. But I had a post in my Facebook group a while back that just talked about how to implement changes because we were coming into the new year, right? And you have to implement them sequentially and master each one at a time before you implement another one. And what that will allow is confidence in that change as you move forward, and also will help you buffer if that change is not a good move. So when we're talking about change, we're talking about even doing these things and getting education. Don't just slam all this down on your team and be like, all right, we're doing all these courses and blah, 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 blah. You're going to overwhelm everybody. Like, do one thing at a time, implement that, and then master it. And then we can go from there.
I like challenging my team. Like I have certain team members. I'm like, I see certain positions that they might be like, I think they'll do really good at. So like I have a team member that I'm looking at for treatment coordinating, and I'm like, what do you think about treatment coordinating? I was like, let me have you shadow. Let me have you watch some webinars. Let me so it's kind of like plant the seeds. And then now he's like really excited about it. And he's like, and he's trying to learn and grow from it. And he's like, Vanessa, give me that book. And then you kind of spark the interest.
Yep.
So that's how I usually start.
Nice.
So there's team members that I put in roles that they probably would have never looked into that role, but I sparked an interest. And now I'm like trying to get them to learn more. And I think that's how you encourage them. And then they get better. And I'm like, even if you decide you want to be a treatment coordinator, you're going to be an amazing DA because now you're going to know how we do it and what we're doing on our side.
Yep.
So you're going to go back there and you're going to be amazing, even more amazing.
Yep. Be high-fiving patients left and right.
Yes. And he's like, and then he realized how the connection. So I mean, those are the type of, I love when team members want to learn. I'm big on like making changes or implementing stuff. Obviously, you don't want to just make change sporadically without a need for it, but there's things in my practice that I could be more efficient on, and I'm always looking for better ways of handling it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do, and that's a big part of my job. So now my role hasn't been face to face with patients. I'm not how I was before, because now I have a team and I'm more busy with other things. So I'm a little bit more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I train my team on what we should be, doing. And I have certain roles, like I have an assistant office manager now. I have a clinical manager now. So we've grown to the point where I have team members that I was able to empower them in their positions, and I could focus on other things.
Yep.
I could focus on, and then we now create projects together, and now I have leads on certain projects, so I could do more things. I feel like more efficiently.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for this time, sitting here chatting just all about management and just telling me your story from hospitality to now running a very, very successful, large multi-specialty practice. It's a true testament to you and your sister and brother-in-law of what, perseverance of learning and taking chances and just starting one step at a time. So thank you so much for sharing that with all the listeners today. I'm just stoked to have you as a guest and look forward to seeing you in April at your DPLN. And folks, this is another episode of Management Unfiltered, and we will see you next time.